How did you figure out that you had ADHD? Because something like that, awareness in India is still at a very minimal stage. How did you got to know that?
The official diagnosis of it came pretty late. I wish I had it diagnosed it earlier. I probably wouldn't have quit at the top of my advertising career. I just randomly quit. I overnight quit within 15 days, gave my notice, moved to New York, studied
Oh,
film
wow.
instead. So that happened just by chance. As I say, I do what I love, and if I love it, I do it. Money doesn't matter. And yeah, that approach has in life actually helped me do all the things I love.
You are a commentator with UFC for Sony Sports. So, how did that happen, and where do you see what do you see currently in the UFC circuit in India? What is the future of UFC?
So it's good that people are taking time to jump to the big leagues. They're finally understanding the value of that now. Like if you look at a fighter like Rahul Thapa, he has grinded out in the amateur circuit. He was not in a rush to go pro. I don't think any Indian fighter has as many amateur fights as Rahul Thapa does. You had the first generation that breached the shores of the UFC. You have the current generation who will fight their way into the UFC. And for that, we need to invest in our fighters who are 16 to 18-year-old today.
Hi, Mavericks. Welcome to the Maverick Man podcast. Our episode today is going to be full of valuable insights for you. The guest we have today for you is a man with many talents. He is the UFC commentator and MMA analyst with Sony Sports. He is one of the top fitness photographers in India. He is an ad film director trained at the prestigious New York Film Academy. He is a K11 certified strength and conditioning coach and nutritionist. He is also a peak performance coach to various athletes like Anshul Jubli, Priya Sharma, and many other celebrities. And not just that, he himself is an MMA athlete. He has blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is a certified coach from in Krav Maga from Krav Maga Global. And recently, last year, he won the gold medal in his weight class at the ADCC India 2023. So, without any further ado, let's welcome our guest today, Mr. Pushkaraj Shirke. Welcome, Mavericks. We have our guest today, Pushkaraj Shirke, a man with many talents. Thank you, Pushkaraj. Thank you so much for getting onto the podcast, and I'm sure audience are going to get a lot of invaluable insights from you. So, right off the bat, I think the first question that I would ask you is that how have you managed to gain so many talents, so many skills over the years? You are a photographer and movie director, you are an MMA athlete yourself, a coach, and now a commentator as well.
Thank you, AB. So it's basically just channeling my ADHD.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't always work in my favor, but the one good thing it gives me is the need to keeping on learning new things. That's a way to channel it. So yeah, seven
Yeah.
degrees and a bunch of diplomas, and anything I get into it in pretty detail. So I find that a good way to channel all my energies. The problem is, uh, I don't always look at the monetary aspect of it. I just do
Mhm.
it for the love of it.
Got
So
it.
now that I'm like going to therapy seriously for my ADHD, now I've started channeling it into monetary resources. Because initially I was just
Oh,
doing everything for the fun of it. I'm a trained scuba diver. I majored in psychology. Then
yeah.
I got into advertising. Then I worked as a creative director in advertising. Then I moved to New York, studied films, got into filmmaking, got into photography, did that. Then I got into fitness. Fitness I always loved, so I got into it. I enjoyed it, so I did all the courses available at K11 because
Correct.
I'm at
Correct.
it, so might as well do it. And I started enjoying it. For 2 years, I didn't even charge people I was consulting because I was just doing it for the fun of it. And then I realized people don't value what they get for free, so I started
Free.
charging a mini fee, which later on increased and increased and increased. And as my popularity grew, it became a reasonable sum. And then I got some
Great.
celebrities and TV stars and some Hollywood actors on my board, some
Oh,
international
wow.
athletes, Olympians, and
Very
yeah,
good.
that's sort of the foundation of Project Battlefit. Started off
Got
as
it.
an individual project on myself,
Uh-huh.
and then it turned out into a company. And apart from that, then I also did content development for TV shows and stuff. And yeah,
Great.
I ended up with multiple careers. Now I juggle 4 careers at the same time, trying to streamline them into two: Pushkaraj Shirke Films and brand consulting, and Project
Okay.
Battlefit, which is fitness, nutrition, and combat.
Perfect, perfect. I think that's that's the best example I have ever heard of channelizing something which a lot of people do not find that easy to manage, something like ADHD, and then doing so many things. So kudos to that, Pushkraj. How did you figure out that you had ADHD? Because I mean, something like that, awareness in India is still at a very minimal
Yeah.
stage.
So
How did you got to know that?
the official diagnosis of it came pretty late. I wish I had it diagnosed it earlier. I probably wouldn't have quit at the top of my advertising career. I just randomly quit. I overnight quit within 15 days, gave my notice, moved to New York, studied
Oh,
film
wow.
instead.
Uh-huh.
It was extremely sudden. And the thing is, what triggered me was being a creative director, being pushed into more managerial work rather than
Mhm.
creative work.
Mhm.
Um, if I had my diagnosis back then, I would have probably negotiated my way around it.
Hmm.
But my way of dealing with things back then was, okay, I don't like this, I'm not going to do this. Move out. If you don't love it, don't do it.
And
Period.
this was when? This was in which year?
This was 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was at
Okay.
Draft FCP Ulka. Before that, I was at Star
Mhm.
TV, Ogilvy. Yeah.
Right.
And then I went to New York, studied film, came back. Then I got into directing films, which I love and I enjoy. Zero regrets about that. And then because I had a background in advertising, I was still consulting brands as a brand
Mhm.
consultant. So
Mhm.
there was New
Mhm.
Life, there was K11, and that's how the entire barrage of
Fitness.
fitness brands followed. That became a niche
Yeah.
for me. I started
Got it.
consulting fitness brands on brand management and their creative communication. And yeah, that's how that
So
spanned into a career of itself on its own.
sorry, how was this this realization came that you have ADHD and you would want to sort of actively manage that?
I went to therapy.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, I'd been to therapy before because I'm dyslexic, I'm manic depressive. So I was dealing with that, but nobody diagnosed ADHD back then. They just said you're hyperactive, you have a lot of energy. So I
Mm-hmm.
got into fitness and like a lot of physical activities and biking and everything to harness my energy. And that kept me level. But the fact that it is ADHD was not diagnosed until quite late.
Oh,
And yeah,
okay.
once I got that diagnosis, and then I realized that a lot of behaviors that I have stem from that, then I started
Mm-hmm.
curtailing those behaviors. Now, when I see that, I try to put a pause on it. Initially, if I
Mm-hmm.
don't like a client, I would not work with them cold turkey. Like fuck no, no negotiation on that. I don't like XYZ, I'm not working with that. Now it's like, okay, I don't like it, but what do I don't like about it? What can I work with? I try to find a middle ground and like make it work.
So more
So yeah,
mindful approach.
that's yeah. So now it's not like do it just for love. Now it's more like do it for love, do it for money, do it for the work that needs to be done. So yeah, that's a huge difference that came in, and that came in pretty late. No regrets.
Got it. Got it. No, I think and more awareness is coming around these kind of issues. I think it's good that people are actually they are taking the right steps towards the right direction, because I'm sure you would know better than myself, obviously, that it becomes it becomes a big hurdle in your overall life, right?
Yep.
Professional, personal, and so on and so forth. Great, great. So good to know that. Now you have pretty much quite literally the front row seat to UFC and the UFC scene and UFC circuit in India. You are a commentator with UFC for Sony Sports. So how did that happen, and where do you see what do you see currently in the UFC circuit in India? What is the future of UFC?
So that happened just by chance. As I say, I do what I love, and if I love it, I do it. Money doesn't matter. And yeah, that approach has in life actually helped me do all the things I love. Like I've never put money first. I've done stuff for the love of it. And the same thing happened with the UFC gig. I love martial arts. I love UFC. I love MMA. Somebody happened to be connected. They said we are looking for a technical commentator. I'm like, I don't mind.
Mhm.
I jumped in, did a session for free. They loved it. The production team loved it. People asked like, who the fuck is this guy? And yeah, then we sort of stuck to it. And yeah,
Great.
it's been going on. It's a great gig. It allows me also to polish my own skills further.
Yeah.
Like for every fight, okay, uh, I am not required to do this, but I do this. I actually research every fighter in detail, styles,
Mhm.
techniques, training, background, what are their ups and downs, what is the fight format, what do you expect out of this stylistically. So that sort of over this 1 year has really helped my own development of strategy when I'm consulting fighters at my end. So I am
Got
a
it.
strength coach and nutritionist to fighters, and a lot
Right.
of times strategy discussions come up. And this gig of me commentating for the UFC has actually made my perception and my awareness of fight strategy quite acute, I'd say. And yeah, so everything builds into everything. Everything links up, and it helps me grow into doing what I love in an even better way with a lot more love. So
Great.
that's great.
So, who would you say are currently the top five male MMA fighters in India right now, depending upon the kind of research that you have already done, and
Yeah.
both male and female fighters, if you have to sort of comment on that?
So I will not be biased, even though there are Project Battlefit athletes, like my own athletes on this roster. I already made a video about this last year, just
Mhm.
before Angad got into the road to UFC, of my
Yeah.
recommendations of people who
Mhm.
should be in the road to UFC.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And when one selection was not according to my roster, I actually spoke to the person who heads UFC Southeast Asia and said that, how did this person even get in? This person
Mhm.
literally has one move, and that is
Ah,
exactly what this person will do,
okay.
and it's going to fall on the face, and it's going to be a disaster as a representation of India in the UFC. And that
Oh.
is exactly how it panned out. So
Uh-huh.
as soon as that happened, I got a message from that person who's like, please recommend the people you think you actually deserve to be in this platform. So that's
That's
how that relationship developed. And yeah, then I made another detailed list, and that list stays. So as of now, there's Chungren Koren, who's
sorry.
by far India's best prospect from the current terms going to the UFC. Angad Bist
Mm-hmm.
is already there. There is
Correct.
Rahul Thapa,
Mm-hmm.
who's definitely at the top, can hone his skills even better. Uh, from the women, there's Sonam Zomba,
Mm-hmm.
who trains out of Bidang. Extremely good. I'm glad that she has been delayed from going to the road to UFC right now. Okay. She was there in the past selection, but she'll probably have to make the next cut. And that is good because she gets to grow her game. The thing is,
Mm.
people are so eager to go pro and go big that they don't realize that once you hit the big stage, every
Yeah.
mistake is under a scanner.
Mm. Mm.
Till you're
Mm.
not on
Mm.
the big stage, you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to use it as a learning curve. Once you're in the limelight, once all eyes on you are on you, every
Correct.
mistake you make is going to tear you down. So it's good that people are taking time to jump to the big leagues. They're finally understanding the value of that now. Like if you look like at a fighter like Rahul Thapa, he
Mm.
has grinded out in the amateur circuit. He was not in a rush to go pro. I don't think any Indian fighter has as many amateur fights as Rahul Thapa does. He
Oh.
has grinded himself out in the amateur circuit to an extent that he knows what it feels to be in the fight game with zero anxiety.
Mm. Mm.
He's the kind of
Mm.
guy who can step into the cage overnight on a 4 hours notice like Dan Ige and still give a winning performance. And that is what you need at that level. You cannot be like, oh, this is my big shot. Now I'm getting anxiety. Now I'm getting loosies. Now my body's not working. I'm frozen for 2 hours. In the third round, I try to land a knockout and get knocked out. That's not going to work. So
Correct.
yeah,
So it
India
is a
has a
lot
lot of
more.
talent now developing.
Yeah.
Warriors Cove MMA, I would say, is the forefront of this right now. Like the kind of fighters they're developing is insanely good. It's one team that has all aspects of the fight game covered. I always say it
Okay.
takes a village to build a dream, And Boris Co MMA has its own physio. It has me as a nutritionist and strength coach. It has its own internal strength training gym. It has separate coaches for the grappling game, separate coaches for the striking game. It has a head coach who plans the strategy. It has an assistant coach who looks into strategy development and training. So it's run as a perfectly cohesive camp, and that's what more Indian gyms in the MMA space need. Everybody thinks they'll get a one-shot wonder and they'll shoot to fame, and that's not how it works. So the
Yeah.
more Indian gyms, MMA gyms realize that you need to build an ecosystem around your fighter and your group of fighters, the better it will be for the sport in India. And that awareness is coming. Like, you can even have the awareness but not have the funds in a growing sport,
Right.
and which is what usually happens. But slowly and steady, that is changing. You obviously have MFN
Correct.
Matrix
Correct.
funded by Aisha Shroff and Krishna Shroff, changing that scenario, which was a huge thing for India.
Hmm.
All our prospects that are now going to the UFC are literally from there. So you
From
can
FM.
say that that is pretty much the front runner of the Indian MMA scene. And yeah, for the next 2 to 4 years, I don't think we will have fighters that come outside of that circuit. That circuit is the road to UFC for India.
Got
But
it.
do we have a talent as yet who really has the potential to be in the top 10 of the UFC yet? From the current league, no. It's like a war. You have your people who breach the shores, you have the people that infiltrate the enemy territory, and then you have people who capture the flag.
Correct.
We are at level 2 now.
Got
You
it.
had the first generation that breached the shores of the UFC. You have the current generation who will fight their way into the UFC. But to break into the top 10, top 5 and a championship status, I think we are probably a good 8 years to a decade away from that. And for that, we need to invest in our fighters who are 16 to 18-year-old today.
Now, yeah. No, I
And
think
that
that's
is
a
when
very
we'll be able to
well
break
put.
that barrier.
Correct. That's a very well put analogy because I think if you look at the internet and all, people are just they are ready to shit on to any loss that fighters like Indian fighters would have, but they don't
Exactly.
realize that how much effort,
Oh, Indian
how
fighters can't
much
fight. Dude, this is
pointing.
just the second
Yeah.
generation.
Correct,
Wait
correct.
a bit.
And I think that's where I think, as you rightly put out, that I think it will take another 10 years or so to actually get to there. I think Anshul Jubli has already got a fight in UFC, which is a
Yes.
big win for the MMA circuit in India. And I think Pooja Tomar already has won a fight in UFC. So I think these are great prospects for the UFC circuit for sure. Um, I want to touch upon one point that you just mentioned, and we were just talking about it also. That key, why is it that the Indian athlete, and especially in the MMA circuit or the martial arts or games, sports like boxing and all, is not really it's always it doesn't really get that kind of respect which typically, let's say, any other western fighter or any other fighter from other countries might get it. And people keep coming up with those comments of genetics and diet and so on and so forth. What is your take on that?
So, genetics does matter. I would not say no to that. Like, even in India, you have the Pahadis who have absolutely robust genetics. You have the Rajasthanis who have excellent EPO. You have your Thapas and Sherpas who have amazing endurance. And you have
Mhm.
your down south Kurgis and the Adivasis of the forest who have amazing
Mhm.
genetics. If you look at the trader communities, they do not have the genetics to last it. So, yeah,
Correct.
genetics do matter. Uh, the basic factor probably being just your bone density itself,
Mhm.
right? Bone density is determined by genetics, and your capacity to handle pressure and break under pressure at the very foundational level depends on your bone density, right?
Correct.
And if you look at
Correct.
the top athletes in the UFC, they have phenomenal bone densities, like below
Mhm.
-1,
Okay.
right?
So if you can explain that, I mean, below -1 would be.
So bone density is measured in by a DEXA scan, and you get scores from 0, which is light cannot pass through, to going
Okay.
into minus. I am
Oh, okay.
osteoporotic, so my bone
Okay.
density is -2.4. I get fractures very easily.
Okay.
Even if I tried everything in the world, I can still cannot be a pro MMA fighter. Yeah?
And you still play. You're
I
still
still do
a
it recreationally. I do
pro
it for
player.
fun because I do it for the love of it. As I said, I am driven by love. I'm not driven by logic. So yeah,
Got it.
26 fractures and I'm still in the game.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
26 fractures.
Yeah.
And
So
BJJ, Jiu-Jitsu, I think is a game. It's all about clinches and
yeah, so that's why I don't strike much.
uh,
I prefer BJJ because BJJ allows me to control my opponent. So I don't land hard. I don't get struck much. Yeah. I can execute control in BJJ. Not so much in wrestling, not so much in striking. So I love BJJ. I do it recreationally, not as a pro fighter.
got it. So
Okay,
you were
coming
you were
back to the topic.
mentioning correct, yeah.
So, if you see people like Alex Pereira, the
Yes.
bone
Yeah.
densities are massive, like
Mhm.
extremely good. Like strength athletes, people who compete in strongman sports, they have bone density of 0 going into positive,
Oh my.
literally thickened bones. And that is also because of years and years of steroids. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
not refuting that. Testosterone does increase the density of your bones.
Mhm.
But again, testosterone is also a function of your genetics. How
Mhm.
much does your
Yeah.
body produce testosterone? Also, how does it process testosterone?
Correct.
Right? Like you
Correct.
can see, you can if you like. I used to be a big fan of bodybuilding. I still am. Not of it as a sport, but as a pageant, as a science. Uh, if you see bodybuilders, you can see a person who puts in just 250 IU of testosterone, and his body starts looking phenomenal. Like the results are immediate. Within a month, you start seeing differences. And then you see a Guju businessman who recreationally starts doing bodybuilding, puts in 250 IU of testosterone, no results, puts in 500 IU of testosterone, basic, some muscularity seen somewhere. So, yeah, definitely genetics matter in the way your body responds to testosterone.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
genetics plays a huge role.
And I think
That being
it's
said,
also sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, go on.
No, I think it's also because, for example, Marwadis and Gujus, they have been for generations in a occupation which do not push them towards the
And
more physically
that is how
enhancing.
genetics are formed. So,
Correct. Correct.
it takes 3 to 4 generations of you doing passive static work, eating low nutrition, no protein foods for your
Correct.
genetics to now have the epigenetics triggered for a
Hmm.
certain change. Over 2 to 4 generations, if those same epigenetics keep getting triggered, eventually they become a part of your
They
genetic
become the
code.
more dominant ones.
Yeah. So that's how you create evolution. That's how evolution
Got it.
happens over generations and generations of doing the same thing, which is why you cannot refute the fact that epigenetics matter. If, yeah,
True.
I have 2 3 generations of people just doing hard work, hard work, hard work, yes, in the fourth generation I will get a person who is capable of pushing themselves that hard, and that is exactly how evolution is meant to be.
Correct. And I think that's a very good point also because you see all the wrestlers in India primarily coming from Haryana and Punjab because
Exactly.
they have been in that zone, in that space for like many generations. And I think that's where a lot of Westerners and critics do get it wrong because they look India as one homogeneous group of
Exactly.
people.
Like, do you
Instead
speak
of
Indian? Dude, there is no Indian. There are like 206 languages here.
correct, correct,
Every
correct.
region is different.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that gives us a very good segue also in the diet part of the whole strength and conditioning and all. Um, so obviously, diet matters a lot along with the genetics. But then again, that question comes in of vegetarian, non-vegetarian diet and so on. And if you look at all the wrestlers, even though Amir Khan in Lagan showed that they were eating meat or they were forced to eat meat, they are all strictly vegetarians. Most of the wrestlers that we have in the country today are vegetarians. The Fogart family is completely vegetarian and many of them are vegetarians. But so does that matter too much, or there is also a combination of genetics and diet in picture over there?
Genetics does matter in that. Okay. As I said, your genetics also play in the role in the way your body synthesizes protein.
Correct.
Okay. But if you want a long term career, in sports where your body is undergoing heavy wear and tear, you better be a non-vegetarian or you be willing to supplement a lot of protein.
Through other sources. Got it.
Yeah. There are no two ways about it. You can't be like, nahi, मैं घर पे बना खाना ही खाऊंगा, roti, sabji, dal, makhni. All these people are, I'm not using a bad word, are fooling you, right? I have been, so as a part of brands, as a consultant to brands, I have been in hotel rooms with athletes where publicly proclaimed Instagram vegetarian athletes are eating tandoori chicken in their hotel rooms. And then they're telling, sir, please bahar mat batana, warna hamara sponsorship chala jayega. And I don't blame them. I absolutely understand the scenario.
Yeah.
That is how it works. They have to keep up that lie to get that sponsor, वरना sponsor जाएगा तो पैसा नहीं मिलेगा और पैसा नहीं मिलेगा तो sport नहीं कर पाएंगे. So forget these guys. Yeah, I know actors who lie to their own families about their own usage of stuff.
Got it.
And I understand that. I don't judge them. A version of me 10 years ago would have judged them. A younger, stupider version of me. Now I'm like, okay, I understand what you have to do for your career, and it's okay. Your life, your call. I'm no one here to judge you over morality or over this shit. And that is how it works. Or a lot of these so-called social media phenomenon who claim to be all natty are all roid users. All of them. Liver King got caught. People were supporting Liver King even after he got caught.
Yeah.
Idiots. How much more proof do you need?
Correct.
But people are stupid. And that's a fact of it. People will believe stupid shit.
He was exposed with emails,
everything was out there, and people will say, no, he's still natty. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
Would you know anybody who would you say has built a good physique naturally, just with supplements and diet?
Definitely, a lot of people. The question is, what is your definition of a good physique?
Correct. Let's say
if you go competitive bodybuilding, you literally cannot be a competitive bodybuilder, a Olympia level bodybuilder, Olympia stage, amateur Olympia stage bodybuilder, being natty. Period.
Being natty means just natural.
No matter how much you lie about it, I am not believing that shit. Okay, because unfortunately I understand how biology works. And I've worked with like thousands of athletes by now.
Got it.
Okay. Can you get ripped and shredded without steroids? Definitely you can. Is there a genetic component to that? There definitely is.
True.
For example, I know athletes who 4 days before their weigh-ins are eating gulab jamuns. Next day they just run it out and they are back to being shredded and lean.
Oh my God.
That's absolutely a genetic component. Then there are people who literally like eat 1 cup of rice and the next day their whole body is withholding water, it's bloated, all the abs are gone and now they're looking flubby. That's genetics.
So वो एक हमारे यहाँ कहावत है ना कि कुछ लोगों को हवा भी लग जाती है.
हाँ, सूंघ लिया फूक गए. It's almost literally like that, and genetics is a huge part of that.
So is there a way around it? I mean, I am naturally someone who, if I eat, I mean, I can get weight, I can put on weight very easily. And I know people in my family who can put on weight very easily. And I've seen some of my friends, literally one of my Bengali friend would eat a heap full of rice with just little dal. And he would be like one, I mean, so thin and slim, I can't tell you. So, is there a way around, from whatever you have understood from the nutrition science? How do we approach? How should someone who get on or put on weight very quickly should approach this?
The very first thing I say is get your priorities straight. Okay. Choose what you want. Do you want to be fit or do you want to look fit? There's a huge difference.
Both.
So if you want both, then you need to be willing to make a few sacrifices. Okay. There will be a give and take.
Okay.
Right? Like, I don't do a bodybuilding shred at all. All year round, I walk around at 75, 78 kgs.
Okay.
During competition, I cut down to 65.
Okay.
And that's it. I cut down once a year. Why? Because I don't want to stress my body unnecessarily for looking good. I'd
Correct.
rather feel good, be strong, be healthy all through the year.
Yes. So I mean, let's talk about becoming fit and strong. I'm not
Okay.
talking about abs, not talking about like a ekdam shredded physique, but at least not having a paunch, being
Mhm.
fit, being able to run, and being able to do at least some decent amount of physical activity. How do you approach that, and how should you consider nutrition in this whole uh, piece of the puzzle?
Eat healthy, have a good diet. And when I say have a good diet, does not mean starve. It means feed your body appropriately.
Hmm.
Have a lot of protein. Protein is your
Okay.
building block of your body. Cut out excess carbs. You do not need a shitload of carbs. Carbs are
Hmm.
very easy to overeat. They are not the enemy, they are not the villain, but they are the easiest to overeat. If I tell you
Correct.
to overeat protein, I bet you cannot. But
You
if
will
I
not
tell
be
you to
able to.
overeat carbs,
Yeah.
एक सिटिंग में 8 रसगुल्ले ऐसे ही चले गए, पूरा दिन का कैलोरीफिक आउटपुट उधर ही खत्म हो गया.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and definitely eat all the healthy fats. Once your basic macros are in place, then comes training. You need activity, you need training. And by training, I don't mean go to the gym, lift weights. Yes, that's a great way to train. That's an optimal way to train for a specific purpose. Okay. When I say train, I say get an activity in. Find a physical activity you like and do it. Do it consistently. You don't have to go one day and kill yourself in the gym. You do it every day, bit by bit.
If we can come back to the diet portion first, and let's break it down a little bit more. So, is there any? So there are a lot of these diets also, right, in the market these days. You have intermittent fasting, you have what is that, carnivore diet, and so on and so forth, right? Now, how should someone approach looking at macros? Is there some kind of a number that I should look at? Okay. And again, to be honest, not many people, most of the people will not be able to actually do the measurement and go ahead and do that. Is there some kind of a shortcut or a trick that you think that can work well?
So this is what I did when I was consulting the National Sports Academy for their Olympic gymnastics camp.
Okay.
Okay. The most basic, because I cannot personally counsel 450 athletes,
Correct.
right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
the rule of thumb is make sure every meal has protein.
Got it. And
Protein is your
what would be
priority.
what would be the good sources of protein? Let's say, I mean, chicken, everybody knows.
Eggs,
Egg,
chicken, paneer.
everybody knows.
Eggs, chicken, meat, paneer.
Eggs, chicken, meat, paneer. So for
If you are a
vegetarian,
vegetarian, नाक
hmm,
बंद करो, रोज चुपचाप पनीर खाओ.
got it. Got it.
You need it. You don't have an option.
Got
Or
it.
then have a protein shake with every meal or before every meal.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Understood.
a great way to get your protein in. I
Yeah,
am
and
not a fan
it
of
will
protein
automatically
shakes.
probably it will automatically probably make you more satiated, and you would
Yes,
not really
that is
have.
exactly how it works. It
Got
kills
it.
your insulin spike, it stops the leptin ghrelin imbalance, it kills the unnecessary hunger that you feel, which is not out of actual hunger, but just out of greed, right? And that is a great way to control the way you eat.
Got it.
So,
So
yeah,
we have
get protein
to
in every meal.
correct.
Make sure
That's
you
what.
don't overdo the carbs
Hmm. Hmm.
and have a lot of water, like liquid every day, because a lot of time you are not actually hungry, you just feeling the emptiness in your stomach that you want to fill with stuff. In Japanese there's a saying like eating out of loneliness. Your mouth is lonely,
uh,
right? You just want to keep stuffing your mouth. You're sitting watching a movie, you will want to stuff your mouth with something.
correct.
It is not
Correct.
hunger, it is
True.
you
True.
trying to fill the loneliness of your mouth. Right? That's why
Right.
sugar free chewing gums work very well when people are cutting, like people are cutting a lot
That's
of
a good
weight.
trick, actually. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's a great way to keep your oral fixation curtailed.
got it.
Have a lot
Got it.
of fluids and have a lot of chewing gum and have your recommended meals on time. That's it.
Perfect. Perfect. No, yes, I think these are good points, because a lot of times these small things, they may seem small, that maybe having just chewing gum, having a protein shake, and you don't need to have a 30-gram full scoop protein shake with every meal, right? You
Half
can
a
have
gram,
just
yeah. Just make sure you get enough protein in every meal.
correct. Correct. Just because it will help you reduce your cravings for carbs and all.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds
Because the
good.
more your insulin spikes randomly, the more you will feel like eating, the more you will feel weak, and then like, oh, I need to eat something, I'm feeling giddy. And
Mm-hmm.
you will not understand, oh, I'm feeling weak, so I just need about 10 grams of carbs. That is not how your brain thinks. Your
Correct.
brain thinks, oh, I'm feeling giddy, I'm feeling weak. Let me put down 2 samosa paos and then top it out with a Gatorade. हो गया,
God.
तुमने आधे दिन का खाना उधर ही खा लिया,
True.
calorifically speaking.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. No, I think very well put. So this part is done. Let's the nutrition part. Then, in terms of movement, in terms of training, anything that you specifically recommend, and specifically for men who are in late 30s, early 40s, have been on a desk-bound job for last a decade or so, and have very limited movement. How should you approach this? Because I mean, obviously, with so little movement over the years, your body also degrade, and you immediately start going into the gym, then you will obviously get yourself injured. How should you approach that?
So, the number one thing I recommend is finding an activity that you love.
Okay,
Okay. Because if you don't love it, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be consistent with it.
correct.
Fact.
Hmm.
Or you get a coach who is so good that he makes you enjoy your training
Hmm. Hmm.
or makes you understand the purpose of it. If you understand the purpose of it, if your brain is driving your body, it's more likely to work than you just pushing your body every time to do some work.
Got it.
Right? Once you understand the logic of it,
Yeah.
it's much better for you to follow it. For example, I've seen so many people who are MMA athletes who don't like strength training.
Ah, really?
Like, नहीं जिम नहीं जाना, ये करते हैं बहुत हो गया. But then when they get goals, कि no, I want to win this competition, and they see that XYZ training is making a difference to their
Hmm.
performance,
Yeah.
then they start getting regular and more regular and more regular till it becomes a part of their lifestyle.
Yeah.
I
Becomes
have
a
known
habit.
athletes who used to not strength train a single day of the week, and now the same athletes strength train 3 days a week religiously. They will never miss a session,
Got it.
right?
Understood.
Because they have seen the difference it makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the
Absolutely.
activity that they love doing, they understand this helps, something that they once
Right.
hated, but they now love it because it helps them do what they love.
Got it. Got it.
So that is how you build it. If you understand the purpose of it, understand how and why it helps you, once you see the results, you're more likely to stick to it.
Correct. Correct. I think yeah, yeah. That's a huge motivational factor also, right? You start seeing movement changes in your body and
Even
your
in
strength.
fat loss, if my client sees 5 kgs drop on the scale, if suddenly in the second month of training they start getting compliments like, oh shit, you're looking amazing, the same person who hated that 45 minutes of death is now like, ha, please or maro mereko. Right?
True. True.
Like, let's do
Uh,
this shit. That
yeah.
motivation stays with you then.
Correct. Now, related to strength training, what are some of the key movements or key exercises you recommend to your clients? Again, we are taking the reference of that mid 30 or 40-year-old guy who is trying to become fit, trying to become better and fitter and healthier. What is it that they should do in terms of strength training?
So this is something that has not changed since the printed word began. Okay. But yet, here I am restating it because people want fancy shit to believe in. Okay.
Yeah,
And this is not fancy shit. This is pure hardcore basics. Squat,
simple.
bench, deadlift, overhead press. If you
Perfect.
can lift weight from the floor up over your head and drop it down in a controlled way, you are strong. That's what your body is supposed to be able to do.
Correct.
As a foundational marker of strength, I would say you should be able to squat, you should be able to deadlift, you should be able to overhead press, you should be able to bench, you should be able to run, you
Correct.
should be able to jump, and you should be able to walk with weights on an incline. If you can do these 7 things, I would consider you GPP fit. right? Capable of living a fit and healthy life.
Perfect. So
These
you
are my
essentially,
markers.
so essentially you need to incorporate bench presses, incline, and
The four foundational lifts:
correct. And your what were the other two three that you mentioned?
run, walk on an incline, and
Correct.
jump.
Jump. And
Right? And this is not only for people sitting at their desk. This is even for athletes. These are your foundational skills.
yeah.
It's funny how many people undervalue the value of being able to do a vertical jump. But
Ah.
that is where your explosive strength comes from. If you cannot launch your body from the ground to at least a level right just above your knee, are you even athletic?
Mm.
Right? As an
Correct.
athlete, you should at least be able to go above your own hip. As a
Mm-hmm.
pro athlete, you should be able to clear like 4.5, 5 feet in a vertical jump. But again, that is standard. Same thing with a deadlift.
Got it.
Can you deadlift your own body weight? Can you deadlift 2x your body weight? Can you deadlift 2.5x your body weight? Can you deadlift 3x your body weight? 3x is absolute elite, 2.5x is athletic elite, 2x
Mm-hmm.
is good, 1x is ये नहीं करेगा तो बेटा बेड पे ही बैठ के सो जा. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. Perfect. I think, yeah, very well put. Simple and straightforward. Just keep going and doing these things. I think that should
Yeah,
be
just the basic. Don't look at Instagram and fool yourself into doing random, stupid, fancy shit.
correct.
Literally, there are 4 basic lifts.
Yeah.
There are 3 basic movements. If your body can do that and do that phenomenally well, you
Yeah.
are absolutely on the right track. Then you want to add stuff to it. जब बोला ना बिरयानी बन गया अभी उसके ऊपर कोथिंबीर वगैरह डालना है डाल दो, no problem. But बिरयानी में चिकन होना जरूरी है. That's
Got
your
it.
functional protein right there, right?
Got it. Got it. No, absolutely. I think spot on. Any supplements that you take yourself or you recommend your clients, which would be really, really helpful?
So in India, because we are not a protein heavy country, whey protein is essential. Like even though
Mm.
I don't use it all the time,
Mm.
but when I need to, I always keep it as a backup. It's an SOS. Always try to get your nutritional needs met via solid foods first.
Got it.
When solid foods fail your goal, then you add in supplements. They are called supplements for a reason. तुम स्कूल में
Correct.
आंसर पेपर भरते थे तो पहले सप्लीमेंट
Supplementary.
मांग के नहीं भरते थे. पहले अपना आंसर पेपर भरो, उसके
Correct.
बाद सप्लीमेंट ऐड करो. And that's where a lot of these youngsters go wrong, and a lot of supplement companies fool these youngsters because they are easy money.
Mm.
They show them, oh
Yeah.
supplement ले लो बॉडी बन जाएगा. नहीं, that is not how it works. It's
Correct.
luckily we live in a country where solid food is cheap.
Yeah.
In the US, that's not the case. So if a
No.
client in the US tells me, should I go for protein supplements? I would say, hell yes. Protein supplements are cheaper than solid food in the US.
Oh,
In
okay.
India, it's the other way around.
Mm.
In India, having 4 eggs is cheaper than having a protein shake.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I would
absolutely.
definitely tell you, eat 4 eggs per meal first. Once you hit that limit, or if that is making you feel full and you cannot train anymore, then you add in a supplement.
Got it.
But
Got it.
college kids are fooled by all these Instagram marketing supplement companies. They're like, supplement, dabba wali body. Yeah. And people are gullible. As I said before, people are stupid. People want to be fooled. There's an intrinsic need in human beings to find a shortcut.
Shortcut.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
anybody telling them that this is a shortcut, no matter how ridiculous and stupid it seems, people will believe it. Unfortunate but true. You have the Baba Ramdevs of the world becoming billionaires over the stupidity of humankind.
Got it. Got it. Any other? So whey protein is one you mentioned. What is it? What's your take on creatine and all?
I
A lot
love
of
creatine. From all the other synthetic supplements, literally the one supplement that has been tried and tested and proven time and again is not any fancy forms of creatine also. It is just literally micronized creatine monohydrate.
creatine monohydrate. Yeah.
Yep. Like the results are visible. And not only for your body. Okay. Creatine is extremely important even for your brain.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I literally never go off creatine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So with
It helps
every
your brain develop. It helps your brain stay alert. Okay. It helps your body grow. It helps your muscles recover better. It increases your strength. It increases your ATP. Obviously, power generation is higher. So literally, if there's one supplement that you never go off, that's creatine.
and that
Okay.
is how much you use and how do you use it?
For
What is
general
the
public, 5 grams a day is more than enough. For athletes, 10 grams a day. And you
okay.
start with a preload cycle where you, for 1 week, you take extra creatine so that your body levels up, and then you maintain that high level. But that
Got it.
again, that's getting into the technical parts of it. But in
Mhm.
general, creatine, never go off it.
So you take it with every protein shake
No,
or
no. I have it like a cold drink once a day.
oh, okay. Okay.
As I
Interesting.
said, you need to have a lot of fluids.
Hmm.
So one way to make fluids interesting is to merge them with your supplementation.
Perfect.
So one
Perfect.
nimbu pani, one
Uh-huh.
iced tea without sugar, one creatine, one collagen. So that way I end up having 8 to 10 liters of water a day without
Oh.
me feeling like, अरे 8-10 liter पानी पीना है.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you mentioned whey protein. You also mentioned creatine. Anything else which can be taken safely and on a regular basis for anybody?
So when you are on a high performance kind of need, you cannot go off the basics, which is your vitamin B, C, E,
Hmm.
D, and calcium.
So
These are your
multivitamin.
basic foundational micronutrients.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I suggest you take them not from a supplement store. You can get them from a medical store if needed. Very cheap, very effective, and yeah, absolutely essential. If you're eating enough eggs, if you are a hardcore non-vegetarian, your need for this is not that high. But if you're a vegetarian, and if you do not have that many rich sources of nutrients in your food, you will definitely need to supplement these. So even though I am a non-vegetarian, I still cycle these on and off every 3 months or every time I get into heavy training.
Hmm.
Anytime
Got
I'm feeling down, anytime I feel like my body's not recovering fast enough, again, immediately the first thing I dump back in is vitamin B, C, E, D, and calcium. Calcium, though, I never go off because I'm osteoporotic, but apart from that, it's still a part of the foundational micronutrients that your body needs. So these things you never go off.
Got it. And I mean, obviously, you should obviously get it checked also to see what your current levels are, and according to do
Yeah,
that accordingly.
so once a year, get it checked. Like, I am not a fan of getting checks all the time regularly. That's
Hmm.
again a money making racket.
Hmm.
Okay.
No, I think
I will
India
not
में
name the company. I will not name the company, but one of the companies was asking me to recommend their tests. And I saw
अच्छा.
one of the sample reports, and all the reports were like, this is dangerous, this is dangerous, this is marked in red, this is marked in red. I'm like, no, all these stats are normal. These are not
And
red.
but the range is so big,
Yeah,
you
so they are like, नहीं सर ऐसा रेड में मार्क करेंगे ना तो फिर क्लाइंट्स आपके पास आएंगे ना बताएंगे कि इसको कैसे ठीक करना है.
oh
They
my God.
want to fear monger so that a nutritionist or a gym gets more clients because then that nutritionist recommend their tests.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
That is
Agree.
literally how the industry works. It works on fear mongering. And if it's a guy like me who's telling you the truth for a change, it does not work financially very well for a guy like me. But yeah, something don't change. I still tell the truth, and that is how it is.
No, I
Like,
think that's the good part of the internet and this information revolution. The you have, I mean, the true voices also come out, and that's absolutely essential with so much of clutter out there. So thank you for sharing that. Actually, um,
you
any
know the
so
biggest thing, and you'll see this in every gym. People are still using the BMI scale,
correct? Yes, yes, yes.
right? And the BMI scale, if you even go and just Google it, you will
Uh,
know that's a very inaccurate representation of fitness and health.
so it's the BMI weighing scale you're talking about.
The BMI scale itself, like when you measure body mass index, it's not a
Right.
great measure of fitness or health.
Hmm.
I
So
will
is there?
show people who completely are like unfit according to the BMI scale, but are phenomenal athletes.
Uh,
It's a
yeah.
good guideline, but the way these gyms market it is like, oh, red line, oh my god, इतना गंदा BMI है, तुमको तो हार्ट अटैक आएगा, तुम तो मर जाओगे. And बोले, oh, मर जाएंगे, oh, हम क्या करें अभी, oh, बता दो, ये लो 40,000 का membership. And that is exactly how it works. So
God. Is there any good marker that you should look at other than BMI?
A good marker is, can you do everything that you love? Are you fit
Without
enough to do it? Are you healthy enough to do it? Once a
Mhm.
year, get your basic stats checked. Are they healthy? And get a second consult on it. Don't rely on the one giving you the test to tell you whether it's healthy or not.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah.
Because cholesterol is a pure example. Cholesterol
Mm.
has been villainized for so long that your old school doctors still view it as a marker of heart health. It is
Mhm.
not. Right?
True.
Athletes maintain a high level of cholesterol because cholesterol is what your testosterone depends on. If you are low cholesterol, you're low testosterone. Also, if you're low testosterone, you're low libido.
Correct.
Right? So all these nalla people out there who are trying to shut down their cholesterols and then complaining ki now I can't ding dong anymore, and then getting on a regular dose of Viagra, is like,
Uh,
boss, you're going to the wrong doctor in the first place. Cholesterol is not the problem,
uh,
right? The balance of cholesterol with all the other triglycerides and stuff, that is a good marker,
correct.
right?
Correct.
Just
So I
high
think
cholesterol is not a marker. If it's not
that
glycated cholesterol, if your cholesterol is not being glycated by the sugars and glucose in your system, it is not a threat. So first thing you need to cut in your diet are the sugars,
because
not the
correct.
cholesterol, not the healthy fat. If you stop
Mm-hmm.
putting healthy fat from outside, your liver will start making fat from the inside. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
you end up with fatty liver,
Fatty liver. Correct. No,
right?
I think very
You
well
have
put. I think this
fruitarians getting fatty liver
this
from
this this
fructose.
whole fear mongering results in so many bad things. I mean, I remember, I mean, for the longest time ghee used to be villainized just because it would increase your cholesterol, and now the west, everybody is saying no, no, clarified butter, very good, very good, it is essential. And suddenly the whole script is flipped on its face. So yeah, I think this is very critical to keep in mind of all these researches that you,
Yeah.
and I think you rightly put it out that as long as you are able to do whatever supposed to do in terms of the movements, in terms of the lifting weights, I think you should be able to assess that you are pretty
Yeah.
much on
So that is fit. And
that is
healthy is what is inside. That's why you get a test once a year. You see where all your markers are. Get a second recommendation on that. Get a second opinion on that. Don't rely on one doctor. You never know. You have one old school doctor who still believes that cholesterol is evil. Go to a new doctor who little updated his knowledge. And those exist out there. And I love them and I respect them. And those are the only kind of doctors I now go to.
got
Right?
it.
Get their
Yeah,
opinion. They will tell you. And yeah, try to keep your markers in check.
absolutely. No, good advice on that front also, I think. Uh, Anything on fish oil? Fish oils have been as a supplement has always been recommended. Do
Yeah.
you take yourself, and have you
I do
used
take
it?
fish oils also because fish oils are very good for the brain, and I love my brain. Yeah. So fish oils are healthy. Fish oils are great, but again, it's not something you need all the time.
Hmm.
Okay. A lot of marketing around fish oil goes like, "Oh, this is the miracle shit that you need to have." Like, where are the mountainous athletes having fish oils?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
still fit as fuck. They're still healthy as hell,
Correct.
right? So it's not a absolute need.
Mhm.
But yes, do supplement it from time to time, because if your diet is not rich in all that nutrients, if you don't have those genetics of those pahadis, you better do well with it. Also, if you are a pahadi, there are benefits to it that your body can make use of. There is optimal performance, there's optimal performance, and there's like absolutely peak performance going beyond optimal. Okay.
Mhm.
If that is what you're aiming at as a top athlete, you need to give your body every edge it can get. It needs even that 0.5% of performance increase, you want it.
Correct. Correct.
Even 0.5% matters.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
creatine gives you an 8 to 10% increase. That is phenomenal. Not every supplement will give you that level of increase in performance.
Mm.
But there will be things that give you 1%, 0.25%, 0.5%. As a peak athlete, you want that. You want everything that will push some things in your favor. A simple thing like having a clean bed sheet and a clean pillow cover that will give you a good sleep adds to your performance by 1%.
Wow. Yeah. So everything,
Okay.
I mean, every little detail matters.
So imagine if you do 15 things, if you change 15 things in your lifestyle, that improve your performance by 1% or 0.5%, you're already much better than you were a week ago.
Correct. No,
And that
absolutely.
compounds over time. As your
Correct.
skills improve, your percentage also compounds, and that compounding is what matters.
Correct.
Today, when I
Correct.
get athletes who just want to, you know, resurrect their careers, make a
Hmm.
comeback, okay, I help them. I definitely help them with the nutrition. But you should start looking into your nutrition from very early in your career,
Hmm.
not so late when all you are already on a downslide. But there, even if it helps you, it will help you by 5% and 5% at that time. If you put in your 5% today, when you are a 18, 21, 23-year-old,
Hmm.
by the time you compound to being a 35-year-old, that 5% has compounded to becoming a good 10, 12% chunk of your performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you need it the most. You need it the most when you don't actually see it. As a young athlete, you can do away with even eating McDonald's for every meal.
Uh,
With a body that at the peak of its metabolism, it will metabolize shit if you put into it. तुम चमड़े का जूता खा जाओ, तुम्हारा बॉडी मेटाबोलाइज कर लेगा. But
but yeah,
once age starts compounding,
yeah,
then you
yeah.
start seeing, Are, now I can't cut weight that easily. Are, now I'm getting fatigued very easily. Are,
Hmm.
now my injury is taking 2, 3 weeks to heal.
Correct.
That's
No,
when
I
you
think that's
realize
a very, very, very important topic also which you picked, which is uh, metabolism. As you grow old, it keeps getting shittier and shittier. It just keep sliding off. Is there anything that you can do to at least maintain some level of, or at least keep it at a slightly higher level? Or is there any change, as you said, that small changes can help a lot? What are some things that a normal person can do to get your metabolism at a certain level? At least you're not putting on that bloody extra weight, which is so difficult to get off. Apart from obviously the diet and the nutrition that we talked about,
activity.
that's the
The
only key.
human body works, and this is the most simplistic, stupid way I can put it in. It works on the principle of if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm, mm,
If you stop using your joints, they're going to start hurting. If you stop loading weight on your bones, they're going to start losing density. If you start pushing your muscles, if you stop pushing your muscles, they're going to atrophy and get weaker. You
correct.
stop using your brain, it's going to start withering away. And that
Correct.
is the one rule on which the human body thrives and exists. So if you want to keep your body able, keep pushing it to do the things that you want it to be able. Yeah, I'm sure it may not be able to function at the level of a peak athlete, but at least go towards it so that you can do like 5% of it, if that's what
Yeah,
you
I
want
mean,
to do.
even if you are like 10% better than what you were earlier, it's
10%
still
is a lot.
वही बोल रहा
10%
हूँ,
is a
तो
lot. When you're growing
five,
older,
10%.
even 1-2% better than yesterday is a great thing.
Correct,
Like I
correct.
have geriatric clients, right? I have geriatric clients who had like knee and back pain while even just walking down the stairs. They couldn't walk up 2 stories of stairs to get to their house.
Mm-hmm.
Today they are walking, they are going on walks, they are going on treks. They're like, this is phenomenal. Like 1 year ago, I couldn't have imagined this shit.
Correct.
And all I have changed is made them do those activities on a regular basis, even if it causes pain a little bit. Not pain to the point that it makes them all meow, meow, chow. Bearable pain. You need to be able to push yourself to a level of discomfort and then support that with nutrition for recovery.
Got it. Got it.
Without facing discomfort, expecting to grow, expecting to progress is a human fallacy.
No,
And if you
true.
keep
True.
falling prey to that fallacy, you're going to stay in the same shit that you have been and only getting worse. That goes
Like,
for everything. That goes for activity, that goes for life, that goes for knowledge, brains, everything.
true. No, so while so movement is one thing, anything else that you think can actually help metabolism from can improve metabolism?
Steroids. Not a topic you would like to discuss, but that's a fact. Right?
Not
So you have
everybody would
GH and you have
want to
steroids.
obviously use that also, right? I mean, steroids, but I mean, that is, I mean, there are other effects, harmful effects also, which might also be there, right?
Yeah, there is activity, there is nutrition. वो दोनों कर लिया, ठीक है? Now if you want anything more in your biology, you will have to put it from the outside. That's
Got
where
it.
your steroids, peptides, GH and everything come in.
Got
For
it.
actors, it's a necessity. For aging athletes, it's sort of a necessity. Once you have stopped, like for an athlete, once you have stopped being a competitive athlete in a tested field, you're now a coach. You're still training at the level where you were training. You were trying to push. Obviously, you're not as great anymore. You're not at that level of performance anymore, but you're still pushing yourself. And you're pushing yourself for your students, for the next generation. Your body is undergoing wear and tear. Your metabolism is not where it used to be. You
Right.
will have to take external support. To hell with the moral judgment of it, you will need external support.
Yeah, I think more not. I mean, I am not judging it or not talking it from the moral point of view. I am thinking or trying to bring out the point of view of the safety aspect, which I am sure over the years obviously has improved quite a bit. And if you can give a little bit more light on that, that will be also helpful because with steroids, always there is that factor of safety and the
Yes,
kind of a
definitely.
negative impact it can have on your body, on your
Can
brain.
steroids kill? Definitely yes.
Hmm.
Okay. You've seen a lot of bodybuilders dying
Correct.
recently,
Yeah,
all over
yeah,
the news everywhere.
correct.
Yeah. There's a difference between use and abuse of steroids.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
Even in the use, there is a difference between using it from a knowledgeable source and using it from your chapri salesman who comes at the gym saying, hey, tumko tocha de dega main. Right? Who has no idea of how a steroid cycle works.
Works. Yeah.
Not only a steroid cycle, your post-cycle therapy, your organ support, what you need to do for recovery post the cycle. It's not a one-time done and done thing, and that is where most people go wrong. There are 4 things to a proper, well-done cycle, but people think the cycle is the do-all and end-all of it. हाँ मैंने टोचा डाल दिया, body बन गया, wow. 3 महीने बाद, he has nipples the size of table tennis balls. There's milk coming out of his male nipples. उसके बाद और 3 महीने बाद सब कुछ लटक रहा है. और जो होना चाहिए वो नहीं हो रहा है. Why did all this happen? Because you did not do a proper post-cycle therapy. You did not do a proper
No, I think that's very
well-planned cycle.
important because, and you rightly pointed out that part also that not many people actually talk about it. Because
Yeah.
if you don't talk about it, then everything is in the air and you don't really know what happens, what doesn't happen, and then some bloody salesman will give you something and you will
Yeah.
and
The,
a lot of
the more
youngsters end up
taboo is added to it, the less it gets talked about openly. The less
correct,
it gets talked about openly, the more shit will happen.
correct,
And it's a double-edged sword, right?
correct. So
It's
if
like prostitution.
for the benefit of the viewers, if what is the steroid cycle and what is the prescribed way of taking it, obviously under
See,
proper medical
I will
supervision.
not say this out because people will use a clip of me saying this,
Hmm.
okay, and put it in a absolutely wrong fucking context, and they'll end up ruining their lives.
Understood.
I do not want that happening, right?
Hmm.
Does there exist a educated, knowledgeable, safe way of doing a steroid cycle with it 100% safe? No.
Okay.
It is never 100% safe.
Hmm. Hmm.
As a matter of fact, no medical procedure guarantees you 100% safety. Even if you go to
Correct.
hospital, ये सर्जरी करना है, पहले ये फॉर्म साइन करो कि तुम मर गए तो डॉक्टर रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं है, right?
Correct.
So no external medical procedure in the world is 100% safe.
Correct.
But there is a way that you can measure the risk to reward ratio of it and make an educated call of whether you want to do it or not. Is the risk worth it or not? How much of the risk is manageable? How much of the risk is not manageable?
Correct.
You saw Ozempic and you saw people jumping onto Ozempic for fat loss, right? You know Ozempic, the semaglutide
Sorry, no,
that
no,
people are using for fat loss?
no, no,
Okay.
no.
So it's a drug made for diabetes that celebrities have been now using for fat loss.
Oh, okay. What is it called?
Okay. Ozempic.
Okay.
It is not a tried and tested drug recommended for fat loss.
Hmm.
People are black marketing it and using it, and it's making huge sales. And I will not name the people, the celebs who are using it, but phenomenal results. But it's not tried and tested. You don't know the downside of it. You're just killing your hunger and starving yourself. Your body is eventually going to rebound. Are you ready for the rebound?
True.
That is the question, right? So there will always be people who are desperate for things. They will do it whether it's legal or illegal or does not matter what. The problem is these people will face the consequences, and then they'll hide it because they don't want to be held responsible for it. They'll blame it on something else. You have people blaming doing cardio in the gym for getting a heart attack.
What? Okay. Yeah.
You have people blaming doing cardio in the gym for getting heart attacks. Newspapers publishing headlines that gym में cardio करते करते heart attack से मौत हो गई. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
ये
there could
नहीं
be
कि वो
100
जिम
other
जाने के
reasons
पहले
also.
जिंदगी के 40 साल रोज डिनर में गुलाब जामुन खा रहा था. हाँ, गुटखा खा रहा था, सिगरेट फूक रहा था, दारू पी रहा था, हर वीकेंड पे इतना टल्ली था कि खड़ा नहीं हो पा रहा था. पर नहीं, कार्डियो करते करते हार्ट अटैक आके मर गया, तो जिम मत जाओ. So a lot of people take a lot of shit out of context. So
Yeah.
giving a pointer online is pathetic. I don't think it makes sense, especially on a topic like this, which can actually, take your life.
True.
Right?
No, no, no.
So go to a
Totally.
professional who can give you professional advice. Okay, because once you hire a professional, he is taking responsibility for you, for your well-being, and a good professional will take into consideration your well-being. There exist
And
professionals who are just like, मेरा धंधा हो रहा है तो दे दो, मेरे को साइकिल चाहिए दे दो. No, there are so many people I know who are very genuine about this and have turned away clients.
yeah.
Okay, saying that no, this is not for you. You won't be able to sustain it. Your body will not be able to handle it. I have celebrity clients who have been asking me to put them on a cycle, and I have refused. Some of them have gone and taken cycles from external sources. I don't mind. Karo. And then they have regretted it. And eventually they have come back to me. Right?
No, I think,
So
I mean, these
that
steroids
will
and all.
happen.
Also, these are, I mean, essentially, either it would be for peak performance for, I mean, elite athletes, or someone who is at a very different level. I think for normal people, anyways, you don't really require any of such things. There is enough that can be done by
Definitely
natural
not.
resources. Yeah.
For a
Sorry.
normal, regular person,
Yeah.
it is definitely not something I would ever recommend.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Perfect.
Right? That's why I said, get your priorities straight. What is your priority? That will define everything for you.
Correct.
The problem is people's priorities nowadays change by what they scroll on Instagram.
Shortcuts. The
Very
priority.
short, very short-term
People
priorities.
want shortcuts.
दो
Yeah.
स्क्रॉल किया, प्रायोरिटी बदल गया.
Correct.
एक दिन पहले बंदे को एब्स चाहिए था, चौथे दिन पे बंदे को फूड ब्लॉगर बनना है. Yeah. Baba, these two things do not converge. Please understand.
True, true. Got it. I was going through a couple of your articles and your website also. Uh, can you explain a little bit about the ketogenic diet? And I think along these lot of fads and things that have come up, people do, as you are saying, right? You see two reels or one small video, and then you think that this is how it is, and then you get the whole thing wrong. And ketogenic diet has proven to be very useful, but if you do it in the right fashion, and
Yes.
someone who uses it quite often and refers to your clients also, if you can just give what it is, how to approach this.
Yeah. So for 9 years non-stop, I was on the ketogenic diet.
Oh wow.
Okay. Still healthy as fuck, still doing everything I love. Now I use it when I want performance. I'm not on it all the time.
Okay.
Okay. And also share the reason for that. One, people don't understand how the ketogenic diet works. You cannot be like, I am on a ketogenic diet for 1 month and then I am on a regular diet. Okay. The ketogenic diet needs time to adapt. First thing, it takes 4 to 5 days for your body to adapt from using glucose as an energy source to using ketones as an energy source.
So if you can first explain what is exactly ketogenic diet, and then we'll
Yeah.
take it from there.
So in the ketogenic diet, your body is using ketones that come from protein and fat to produce energy. It is not reliant on glucose, which
Got it.
comes from carbs, aka sugars, for
Got
energy.
it. Hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
So it's completely shifting your energy source for your body.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
Your brain is sharper on ketones. Your lactic acid development is lower on ketones. So your capacity for tolerating fatigue is higher on ketones.
Got it.
Okay? So these are benefits for an athlete
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
ketosis. Okay?
Got
But a lot of people are hesitant to go onto ketosis. And a lot of people of these are people who come from the old school mindset. And
Hmm.
also who use it as an excuse because they just love carbs. Who doesn't love carbs? Yaar, I love carbs. मेरे को भी खाना है वड़ा पाव, मेरे को भी खाना है पिज्जा, मेरे को भी खाना है दाल चावल के साथ अचार और बटाटे की सब्जी, right? मेरे को भी खाना है आइसक्रीम और चॉकलेट. And I understand it. Like you give me Maggie right now, I'm like, oh Maggie, oh, खा जाओ, right? But once you understand performance and how it operates, then you get willing to be on it.
Hmm.
Okay. When I started with consulting the athletes at Warriors Cove, apart from Seth Rosario, none of the athletes wanted to be on ketosis. He was the one willing to like experiment and go down the road, and he did it well.
Okay.
Now, during every peak season, during every camp, most of the athletes are on ketosis because it's the most efficient way to cut weight without dropping performance. The only drop in performance you will see will be in the first week. Your body is still adapting to ketosis. So that week you take it easy. You go easy. You load in more salt. You take a crocin every day if you need to for the headaches. If you're getting headaches, your body is too used to sugars. But once you are in ketosis, it's like being on caffeine 24/7. You are alert. You are active. You don't gas out easily. There is no phlegm formation in the lungs, so you breathe more effectively. Your capacity for oxygen is much more robust. So yeah, you are like on a peak performance drug non-stop, and it helps you cut weight so much faster. Like uh, Chungren Koren dropped 18 kgs in the span of like 35 days.
Wow. 35 days.
Yeah.
18 kgs on
And if
35
you
days.
try to do that on just low carb, you're probably going to be dead like this, like a
Yeah.
zombie every day. Because
Hmm.
what happens on a glucose based diet is when you go low on energy, you
You
feel
move.
low. Go low
Correct.
on glucose, your insulin goes off, you start feeling weak, you start feeling giddy, you start feeling faint. On
Hmm.
ketones, okay, when you go low on energy, that does not happen. Because no matter how low you go, you cannot destroy your body fat completely. Your body will use your body fat for fuel.
Hmm. Hmm. Got
So
it.
when I was cutting weight for ADCC myself, okay, I was on just one paya soup with a spoon of butter every day for 2 weeks. And I was training 3 sessions a day plus weight training.
Oh my God. Okay.
On low carb, I would have died. I
Hmm.
would have fainted all 4 sessions
Got it. Got it.
trying to drop so much weight within those 2 weeks.
Hmm.
On
Hmm.
keto, even being on just the basic amount of protein that my body needs, very, very foundational, minimalistic amount of protein that my body needs, okay, and a little amount of fat to trigger my body into ketosis, I'm hale and hearty and performing at my best. No worries at all.
Got it.
And that is what you want. So you need to be able to use a tool in the right way for it to be effective. You
Hmm.
can't use a screwdriver to nail in a hammer, to hammer in a nail and then say, oh, fuck, screwdrivers don't work.
Correct.
No, a screwdriver will work with a screw. A
Correct.
hammer will work with a nail.
Correct.
And a good
So,
nutritionist will know which diet to use when, how to modify your diet for your best performance.
got it.
And
So,
this
what is,
relationship grows over time, right?
and you mentioned in the beginning that you were on ketosis for almost like a 9 years,
Yeah.
and you cannot be on ketosis or ketogenic diet for a month and then move to a regular diet.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So your body takes time to move from a state of ketosis into a fat adapted state. Now, fat
Okay.
adapted state is your gold mine. That is where you see the most benefits of using ketones for energy. And that is a long process. Your body will go from gluconeogenesis and glucogenesis into ketosis within 4 to 5 days. Once it's in ketosis, it takes a month or two to get into a fat adapted state, where your body is now intrinsically, naturally preferring fat as a source of fuel.
Okay.
And that is when your highest benefits of being in a ketogenic state kick in. But people are like, मैंने वो एक हफ्ता कीटो किया, फिर मेरे को काम नहीं किया, बहुत वीक लगा, मैंने छोड़ दिया. एक हफ्ते में you're not even in ketosis properly.
Got it. Got it.
Right? People are like, no, I do ketosis 5 days a week, then I take a break on the weekends and have carbs. No, you're not in ketosis at all.
That's a
Okay?
big
Because,
misconception. Everybody says that actually. That's a huge
yeah,
misconception.
so you have carbs on the weekend. Now your body is going to take 4 to 5 days to get back into ketosis.
And you will again
By the time you're back into ketosis, you have again fed carbs.
so
So
you're
technically,
never
you're just starved and weak and miserable and never really on ketosis.
got it.
And then these people have the cheek to tell me that, oh, I felt miserable on ketosis. I did it for 2 months. I'm like, sorry, in those entire 2 months, you were not in ketosis for even 1 day. So stop blaming ketosis for your stupidity.
No, I think there is so
Right?
much misinformation on the internet, right? I mean, and I think that's where it keeps coming back to that point that you need to really go to some expert and get some expert advice and suggestion rather than just taking it off the internet or some reel and then start doing it on your own. So,
Yep.
great point, I think, on the ketogenic part also. And so, would you recommend it for anybody who is looking to lose weight, or is it essentially for as a peak performance tool?
So I love it for peak performance.
Okay.
Okay. I do not look at it as a quick fat loss tip,
Okay.
because that is where a lot of people get, disillusioned by it.
Hmm.
Because the first 2.5 kgs sort of that drop, that is just your glycogen weight dropping.
Hmm.
Okay. So glycogen and water. Okay, glycogen holds on to water, and that's why your body holds around 2.5 extra kgs, 2.5 to 4 extra kgs of weight.
Okay.
The minute you go properly on ketosis, those 2.5 kgs to 4 kgs are the fastest to drop off within a week or two.
Got it.
Then like, अरे कीटो पे 4 किलो कम हो गया. And then they have 2 cheat days, and then like, अरे पर सब वजन 2 दिन में वापस आ गया. Like, because that was not even the start of your fat loss journey.
Got it.
That was just dropping the glycogen and water.
Hmm.
Right? The minute you ate carbs, the glycogen refueled, the glycogen stuck onto the water, it rehydrated your body to the point that it has held on to all the water. Now you're water loaded, and now you're weighing yourself again. So for the fat loss journey to start, you need to give it 2 to 3 weeks actually.
Okay. Okay.
But that patience and that intelligence people don't have, and I don't blame them. Instagram से तुम इतना ही सीख सकते हो.
True. True. No, but as a tool for weight loss and becoming healthier, do you recommend it to your clients? And
Yes.
should
The
someone
biggest reason why
should someone reach
is
out to an
because
expert and actually get this kind of diet or something like that taken up?
it is the most optimal thing for fat loss, because you are never weak. You are never out of energy. You are not feeling unnecessarily hungry, because it rewires the way your leptin and ghrelin hormones are produced in the body. Right? It rewires the way insulin is used and managed in your body. So you're not constantly hungry, you're not constantly miserable. It's such an amazing way to be on a diet.
Got it. And so we understood what ketogenic diet is, how it works. What is it that you actually do in it? Is it that you only eat fats and proteins, or
Fats and proteins.
only fats and proteins, and you
Yeah.
cut
So
out all the external carb that you have?
up to 30 grams.
Okay. Okay.
The 30, generally for the human body, 30 grams of carbs is tolerable. Your body will still be in ketosis.
Okay.
For people who train super heavy, okay, and people who have good genetics that are adapted to like metabolize this well, they can even have 90 grams of carbs and still be in ketosis. And 90 grams of carbs is like quite a bit. You're decently having like 4 rotis and you're still in ketosis.
Got it.
So you will realize a lot of these so-called pro athletes were actually in ketosis,
Okay.
but they were not using the term ketosis, and that's what people didn't realize. They're actually in ketosis. They're training 8 hours a day. They are having just 2 bowls of rice, a salad, and meats. They're like, oh, I've never been on ketosis. I'm like, if you break down the macros of your diet,
You were not
sir,
interested.
you're already in ketosis. Just that you didn't realize it because you do not have the scientific brains to analyze that shit.
Got it. Yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
And that, like Alexander Volkanovski,
The
he's been on ketosis for the longest time.
Oh, okay.
Every time he's in a fight camp, he's technically on ketosis. Right? But obviously, people like to label diets, people like to name diets, they like to give their own fancy terms to diets, and that's where the understanding of nutrition goes for a toss. I am absolutely not interested in adding a label to a diet anymore. I will find what works for my athlete. I'll get my athlete from point A to point B using whatever works. Now, you want to label it high protein, high fat, LCHF, you want to label it low carb, you want to label it no carb, you want to label it carnivore, you want to label it ketogenesis. Do whatever you want. I am giving you macros, follow it, you're getting results, end of story, my job is done. And that's how I look at it now. I'm no longer at the stage where I use labels anymore.
Got it. No, I think that's it. It basically do not. I mean, labels only make things complicated. It just
Yeah,
adds
because
to the
people will go and Google labels,
yeah.
and then they'll read the shit about labels, and then they'll be, oh.
Got it. Now, one important question I have, and because obviously in India the dietary patterns vary so much, can you be in ketogenic or ketosis on a vegetarian diet?
Can you be? Yes. Will you be able to? Maybe yes.
But
Should you be? No.
okay,
It is terrible. You will die. It'll be very painful. How much paneer will you eat in every meal?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I have had a vegetarian ketogenic diet athlete. Okay.
Okay.
The dude is one of India's Olympic prospects,
Oh,
and amazing level of dedication. But then again, you're looking at the dedication of an Olympian,
correct.
not of a common housewife who wants to watch your K soap operas at the end of the night and like
True.
that, bhajia cravings are coming in the middle of the day.
Correct.
Your motivation levels are completely
Very
different.
different.
He stayed on ketosis for 6 months. Phenomenal.
On vegetarian.
Like literally lived on paneer, cheese, and whey protein for 6 months.
Wow. Wow.
Like imagine the level of dedication that guy has.
Paneer, cheese, and whey protein for 6 months. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you can't have anything else also. I mean, even if you
Nothing else. At the most, कभी मूड किया तो पनीर का thin crust का भजिया बना दिया. That's it. But yeah, that's what. As a vegetarian, you do not have an option. कितना पनीर खाओगे खा के. So for a vegetarian, yeah, your general low carb is your best way. Like cut out all the unnecessary carbs, have as much as you need to sustain, and fill the rest with like as much protein and good fiber you can. That's all I can say.
got it. Got it. I think that this has been a very useful, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, a lot of valuable insights audience is going to get. I just wanted to end the podcast with what is Project Battlefit? If you can give a little bit more detail about it, what is it that you're trying to do with that?
So I still have that little piece of paper with me somewhere here in my books. Project Battlefit started on a piece of paper. Okay, this is when my diagnosis of osteoporosis came out.
Which was
And I was like,
how long
shit,
back?
I have the bones of a 64-year-old man.
Oh my God! And
and I am 24 years old.
When was that?
I was 24 years old.
Oh.
Okay, and I got my diagnosis of osteoporosis, and I was like, shit, I have so much more to do. I want to do like combat sports, I want to do motorbiking, I want to do this, that, and I have the bones of a 64-year-old. How am I going to be able to do that? And I was a skinny kid. I was 48 kgs in college. I was extremely skinny. So I made a list of the things I want to do in life physically, and then I started researching ways on way I can get around to doing it. And MMA was one of them. And there was no way I could get into combat sports with a bone density of a 64-year-old. and being a skinny, weak kid. So that's where my strength journey started with Kesad Kapadia. Then strength and nutrition came in. Then I went up to 64 kgs. Then I piled on more muscle. Then I went on to 80 kgs, got into heavy powerlifting.
Oh, wow.
Then, obviously, biking though I was always doing. Then I started doing longer and longer adventure rides and stuff. That happened parallelly. Then I got into combat sports. And then I started cutting my weight down again to like a peak performance level. So I still walk around at 73 to 78 kgs, but when it's competition time, I cut down to 65. This year I might cut down to 60 depending on how I feel. But yeah, that's the origin of Project Battlefit. It began as an experiment, as a project on myself. What can I do to get from a status of being skinny, weak, osteoporotic to a level where I can be an adventurer, a fighter, a person who can do all the things that he wants to do. And that's why Project Battlefit.
Got it.
Because being able to fight is like the epitome of fitness for humankind since times immemorial.
True. Yeah.
Olympians were fighters. The peak, most Olympians were fighters. If you get into the Greco-Roman history of Olympics.
Correct.
Right? Combat has been the truest test of fitness. Can you survive?
Correct.
That's why even today when I train, my first priority is self-defense. The sport aspect of it comes secondary. The sport aspect is for fun. So Krav Maga, I studied Krav Maga. Even when I learned Jiu-Jitsu, I told my coach Ashwin Hoon and my priority is self-defense. So the way I learned even Jiu-Jitsu is in a way that I prioritize self-defense, not sport. I don't do the fancy shit. I don't do inversions. I don't do Imanari rolls. I don't do fancy flips. I do what's very grounded, very practical, will keep me surviving in a fight. And that's how Project Battlefit came to be. And once I got all the degrees and certifications, I started counseling people for free, as I said, mentioned earlier. And then I realized people don't value what they get for free. Then I started charging a little fee. Then it grew. I got better and better. My popularity grew. Got a bunch of athletes training under me. Got a bunch of celebs training under me. Actors, then more athletes, then international athletes, international actors. And yeah, and that's how Project Battlefit now became a company. So now we have an active roster of combat sport athletes, which has sort of become my niche now, because I genuinely love combat sports. So it was like a very symbiotic relationship that I started getting more and more combat athletes in my roster rather than your general cricketers and tennis players. Initially, it was a lot of footballers and tennis players and cricketers, but now it's primarily combat athletes. Because again, the art of weight cutting is very scientific and not known to many people.
Yeah.
A general bodybuilding coach cannot make you do a MMA weight cut. The way you dehydrate for bodybuilding is very different from the way you dehydrate and like deplete for a combat sport. You need your performance level back within 24 hours. It's something like Jiu-Jitsu, you need it back within 4 hours.
The whole fiasco that happened in Olympics this time.
That was terrible. I've made a video on it. You probably must have seen it on Instagram.
What was your view?
That was a fiasco of epic proportions.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely sure there has been not so great play around there. Because you're shifting weights at an Olympic level. You should be knowing how much your body rehydrates post a heavy training session, especially after day one of competition. You should know what diuretics you can use, cannot use. You should know how much weight you can drop safely and do it again the next day.
Correct.
Right?
When at that level,
and her nutritionist was not on the panel. He was not at the venue at that time.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Pardiwala, who is a medical head, was overlooking her weight cut. Why? That is not the job of your medical head. First thing, that was not his responsibility. He should not have been doing it. But then, why is he out there giving statements about it? And when this whole thing comes out that it is not his responsibility, then why were you giving out statements in the first place? Then PT Usha comes out with the whole thing that she wants to say about it. Then now finally the athlete speaks up that I was forced this and that. Anyway, that's an absolute bullshit thing. And I don't expect any better from Indian sports. This Babugiri is very deep rooted and it's not going to go anytime soon. Even at the topmost levels of sport, there is nepotism, there is babugiri, there is a deep load of shit. But if I let that bother me, it'll mess up my brain. And so I refuse to do that. I'm like, I will focus on my clients, I will focus on my work, I'll focus on what I have to do, and Cheerios to everything else. Don't jump in the pile of bullshit if you don't want to be covered in bullshit.
No, very well said. I think, yeah, with Project Battlefit, you're now training mostly the combat athletes. Um,
Yes.
and
So I have an active roster of 24 athletes
got
who are like pro, semi-pro in MMA,
got it.
and I have a growing roster of amateur athletes who will soon be joining the pro ranks. And let's see, the whole goal I see for Project Battlefit is not only to get the Indian tricolor in the Octagon of the UFC. I want to see an Indian in the top 10, and eventually, before someday I die, I want to see an Indian champion of the UFC. That's the goal. That's the far-sighted goal out there.
No, it's a great vision to have, I think, and kudos to you for taking all these things up. And I think, as you mentioned, right, with all this babugiri and a lot of nepotism and all of those things which are happening in the more traditional sports, at least hopefully with UFC and MMA circuit, these things kind of get out of the way, because you have to prove yourself inside the octagon, right? There is no other way that you can actually get to the top. um,
Yeah, babugiri will only get you so far.
True.
सिफारिश से तुम केज के अंदर पहुंच जाओगे, उसके बाद जो पिटोगे वो तुम पे है ना.
Correct, correct, correct. I think,
And that is exactly what's been happening. And it's not just babugiri in the traditional sense. A lot of these so-called managers, okay, have vested interest in putting you into fights where you actually don't belong. They are throwing you in a fight for a commission of your fee.
correct.
They don't give a shit if you lose like a dog. वहां जाके बुरी तरह पिट रहा है, उससे उनको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. उनको कमीशन मिल गया 10-20% जो मिलना था तुम्हारे फी से.
Yeah.
So athletes also need to wisen up. Choose your managers wisely. Don't just sign a contract because money is being thrown at you. Your manager got you a fight with a great promotion because that promotion wants to promote their fighter who signed with them. You are the scapegoat to pad that idiot's record.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to show that their fighter can beat up an Indian fighter ruthlessly. like हाँ हमारे फाइटर्स ग्रेट है, उसने इंडियन फाइटर आया था, उसको ऐसा चप्पल से मारा, उसको केज के अंदर एकदम मुंह काला कर दिया. That is what they want. Please don't get a manager who throws you to fights like this. Have a manager who looks into your fights, gets you fights that are at your level, that will help you grow. Even if you lose, it's not a fight that takes away from your learning process. You're still climbing a curve here.
Yeah.
So fighters need that sensibility. And that's the sad part. In a country with fighters that are so poor, I can't even expect them to have a lot of sense about this.
True.
Like, एक तो खाना मिल नहीं रहा है, अभी कोई पैसा फेंकेगा मैं हाँ बोल देगा, क्या करेगा वो यार, वो भी बेचारा है. Even people who are not बेचारा, they are driven by greed. Again, not naming the athletes, but then yeah, you work with them, you train them, you counsel them for free, you keep them on your roster because they are struggling, you want them to get to a big position. The minute they get to a big position and somebody throws them money for a sponsorship, they are willing to say that you never trained them and only these guys have been their sponsors and they gave you their growth and everything. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Basically, sab bika hua hai. Right? So, one, you can let these shit things affect you and think that I don't want to help any more athletes anymore. Or then you be wise, ki theek hai, I got burnt this time. Next time I'll choose who I display my kindness to more wisely. And that's the stage I am at now. I no longer do freebies for athletes. Like, fuck no. I don't care how poor you are. I don't know how painful your journey is, what tired shit, dope story, sob story you come up with. If you want me to counsel you, if you want me to be your nutritionist and your guide, pay me my fee. Or pay me a percentage or sign a contract.
Got it.
I am not doing this shit for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are tens of thousands of people out there who will do it for free. Please go work with them. I will not do it because one, my time and effort, I know the value of it. I will not give it away for free. If you don't think it's worth it, that's up to you. If you think it's worth it, pay the fee. Simple. Or put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Sign a contract
correct.
for a 5% or whatever of your cut.
Future fights or whatever.
I have literally signed with people saying that you don't pay me if you don't win,
Hmm. That's a huge commitment.
because I know the value I bring to a fucking athlete,
Correct. Correct.
right? And if I am willing to bet on you, you better be willing to bet on me.
True. Yeah, it goes both ways.
And that's the only equation that works.
Yeah.
Loyalty is 100%. It is not something you can compromise on. And that's how I work. And that's how it works for me.
Good. Perfect. I think that's the way it should be. And thank you so much, Pushkraj. It has been a pleasure talking to you, man. And a lot of great insights for, I think, normal people, normal guys like me, as well as people who really want to make a name in the MMA circuit, in the UFC circuit. So keep doing the great work that you are doing. Wish you all the very best, and I'm sure we will see more of you in the UFC MMA circuit. And all the very best. Thank you so much again for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. This was a great talk. I hope that helps a lot of people. And that's always the goal, right? Hope it helps.
Thank you, man. See you.
Cheers, man.
Bye bye.